Welcome to Practical Privacy. Today we're going to discuss why treating data as pseudonymized instead of pretending it's anonymized is better in SaaS. We have Noemie Weinbaum, Senior Managing Counsel of UKG and Managing Director of PS Expertise, here to discuss it with us. Welcome, Noemie.
Hi, Orla. Thank you for having me in. I'm very thrilled to come in and speak about how many times we have heard that a SaaS company is saying, don't worry, the data is fully anonymized. But here's the uncomfortable truth about this. Truth anonymization is almost impossible under the GDPR standards and case law, actually. So many companies rely on this claim to justify analytics and AI training or product development, but the risk nevertheless exists. And even recently, with the SRB case law that came out, that provides you with the fact that for the disclosure, the data remained pseudonymous, but for the recipient, the data was actually anonymized. But that doesn't always work in reality as well, because most SaaS companies are simultaneously using a data set for production purposes, for providing the services, and the same data set for training the AI. So you end up still with this existing risk that by assuming data is anonymous without validation, you expose organizations to re-identifications problems, non-compliance, and loss of customers' trust. So this is not just a legal nuance, it's going to be the heart of product credibility and long-term sustainability.
Okay, this is a huge problem. So, what strategies would you say don't work, and why do you think they don't?
So many companies have learned it the hard way that declaring data as anonymous without rigorous testing creates more problems than it solves. We had that a couple of years ago back when the GDPR came out and that we suddenly discovered privacy by design. We discovered that, well, if you do not integrate privacy within the design of your product, you end up with a huge issue. This is more or less the same issue. If you do not integrate the risk of pseudonymous versus anonymous data in your software lifecycle development policy, and at a very early stage of that policy, you end up with a problem. So cross-referencing risk exists. It means that data can often still be linked back to individuals. And that false sense of security leaves gaps in the governance. And when regulators and auditors step in, teams are like scrambling to retrofit protections, and the impact is huge. The regulatory fines are big, the technical debt is immense, product redesigns cost a fortune, and it needs to be done under pressure. And at the end of the day, you end up with erosion of client confidence, which is really the heart of the issue, if I may say.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, as you said, it's so important to be proactive as opposed to reactive. So, what strategies do work and how should they be applied?
So again, it's a little bit back to what happened in 2018. The strategy that works is truly about a mindset shift. There's a cultural shift that needs to happen. And so if you end up by saying, trying to stop to hide the issue, but just, face it and just say that, well, all of my data is actually pseudonymized. It's not anonymous. And that approach means that, yes, if it's pseudonymized data, it's still personal data. And yes, that means that you get the protections and the safeguards of the GDPR. Access controls, encryptions, audit trails, minimization. And so you communicate that transparently with your customers. We treat and protect your data as personal data. And that impact is, I believe, very powerful because it reduces compliance risks, it's smoother audits, there's stronger trust at the end of the road, and what we see is that there's a governance structures that scales without those painful retrofits.
So let's say for companies who are starting out now, what would you suggest before they take the first steps?
The first thing that I would say from day one, start with stricter internal policies. Involve engineers, product managers early in governance discussions, not after the fact. Do not try to meet the company where it is, but actually try to tell them right away, well, where you are is not where you should be. You have to do a shift in your mindset. You have to be accountant for whatever you do. And you have to train those people, like really train all the staff, legal, technical, product, on the difference between personal, pseudonymous, anonymous data. It's those are not easy discussions because the terms are not the same in the US and in the EU and China, and personal data itself does not encompass the same thing depending on the jurisdiction in which you are speaking. So even though those are not easy discussions, I would really recommend to one, train people, tell them we need a cultural shift. It's not an easy thing. Get the management and the leadership on board with you. And once you get that, well, get those stricter internal policies, say that this needs to be integrated within the SDLC lifecycle of the product itself, and sure that understanding makes decisions smarter and reduces the chances of building on shaky foundations, truly.
Okay, so it's extremely important, obviously, to have collaboration across the business. Okay. So if you could offer one piece of advice to your peers, what would it be?
So, my biggest piece of advice on this is really always assume that data can be re identified. Especially nowadays, like with advancing AI and linkage techniques, this isn't paranoia, if I may say. It's reality. What is today de-identified may be tomorrow re-identifiable because of the technology trend. So treating data as pseudonymous is currently actually much more simpler, safer, and far cheaper in the long run. It builds trust, it prevents costly mistakes, and it keeps your business credible, if I may say. If someone had told me earlier, I think I would have fought for this much more than I have done it, and I would have adopted this mindset from day one.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Extremely valuable.
Well, thank you, Orla, for having me.
And that's it for today. So if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and share. Until next time.